Find a comfortable seated position. Inhale. Exhale, bring your chin to your chest. Inhale, bring your chin up towards the ceiling. Exhale, chin to the chest, flexion. Inhale, chin up, extension. Exhale and inhale. Exhale and inhale. Lateral flexion of the cervical spine. Bring your right ear to your right shoulder. Inhale. Exhale, left ear to left shoulder. Continue to move with your breath, and your cervical spine is now having a lateral flexion. Inhale, exhale, inhale, right ear to right shoulder, exhale, left ear to left shoulder, right ear to right shoulder, left ear to left shoulder. Inhale, exhale. Moving on to gliding, keeping your head straight, moving your head left and then right, left and then right. Continue to move and breathe with your movements. Gliding your cervical spine left and right. Circumduction. Exhale as you bring your chin towards your chest. Inhale, left ear to left shoulder, rotating your head back, right ear to right shoulder, chin to chest as you exhale. Continue to inhale, rotating 360 degrees with your cervical spine. This is too much, you don't need to go all the way back. And when your chin meets your chest, we'll rotate the opposite direction. Inhale, right ear, right shoulder. Exhale, left ear, left shoulder. Through the chin, rotating around. Opposite direction. Spinal rotation or twist. Bringing your gaze to the left. Exhale, gaze to the right. Gazing to the left as you exhale. Inhale, gaze to the right. Continue to move on your own breath. Now that we've warmed up the neck or cervical spine, let's work on the rest of the spine seated. Feel free to come onto a block as we do some seated cat-cow. I'll go to the side so you can see what my spine is doing. For flexion and extension, inhale, chest rise. Exhale, chin to chest. Inhale. Exhale, chin to chest. Inhale, bring your chest forward, shoulders back. Exhale, shoulders forward. Continue to breathe. Inhale and exhale. Moving about the thoracic, lumbar, and cervical spine. Next, we'll work on lateral flexion. So again, you can stay seated on a block. If you are, I recommend having a block on either side. Bringing the right hand down, left arm up and overhead. You can gaze up and get a nice deep side body stretch on the left side. The left hip should stay in the ground. If you have a block, you can move it to the other side, placing your left arm down on a block or on the mat. Right arm comes up and overhead. Side body stretch. Right hip is staying on the mat or block. lateral flexion. Bringing your right arm back down to the mat, we'll put this block away and glide laterally. You can bring your arms out or on your hips, gliding right and left, right and left. Again, you can have your hands on your hips, and notice I'm not having a lateral flexion, I'm gliding from one side to another. You could also have your hands on the mat if that's easier. Now let's work on circumduction. So I'm rotating to the left, keeping the top of my head relatively in the same position. Hands are on the knees as I bring the chest forward, exhale back, inhale forward, exhale back. If you want to take it further, I would remove the block, and then as you come forward, all the way to the right knee, forward to the left knee, and back. Keeping your hands on your knees if you want, and this time your head is going to move around versus staying relatively stationary. Exhale back, inhale forward, rotating to the left. All right, and we'll start rotations in the opposite direction. So if you want to come back onto a block, you can. Small rotations at first. So again, the first one will keep our head relatively in the same spot as we begin to rotate now to the right. Inhale, rotating to the right, back and left, forward and right, back and left, and move with the breath. Both the top of the head and the base of the spine are in the same position. Now removing the block and deeper, inhaling forward, rotating to the right, back and to the left. A little bit of a deeper stretch on the hips here. Moving about the spine, circumduction. Now we'll do seated spinal twist. Here I'll show you using a block. I'm also going to have a block behind me. So first I'm going to twist to the left. My left hand is on my right knee and my right hand is behind me on a block. My chest is towards the right and my gaze is behind. Twist. Slowly coming out of the twist, bringing the block with me, twisting to the left, right hand on left knee, chest is facing the left, gaze is behind. Left hand is on a block or the floor if you're not seated on a block. Twist. Removing the block, we'll get into another twist. So bringing the legs out long, bringing the right knee in, crossing it over the left, keeping the left leg straight or tucking it in, and then bringing the left elbow around the right knee, twisting to the right. Again, chest is to the right, gaze is behind, my right arm is behind me. Exhale, coming out of it, finding a little counter twist to the left. We'll do the other side. So right leg can stay straight or tucked under with the left leg on top. So right leg out straight or tucked under. Right arm hooking onto the left knee, chest is left, gaze is behind. Inhale, exhale, twist. All right, coming out of the twist and finding your counter twist to the right. All right, and then we'll come on to our hands and knees. So hands under shoulders, knees under your hips, and we'll do some cat-cow. Inhale, as you bring your chest down, gaze slowly rises, cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. You can have your toes tucked or untucked. And this is a flexion and extension of the spine, moving with the breath. Next, we'll work on lateral flexion. So bringing your left hip towards your left shoulder, you should see a little C to the left. Exhale, right hip towards right shoulder, a C to the right, and just switching sides with the breath. Lateral flexion on your hands and knees. Now we'll glide. So you don't want to bring your hip into a C, just gliding about the spine, going left on your hips and then right, while your shoulders are going the opposite direction without flexion in the spine. Circumduction on hands and knees. So rotating the spine in one direction, moving with the breath. You can also incorporate the head or neck with this, moving about the cervical spine. Rotating up and right, down and left. Up and right, down and left. If you create more space between your hands and knees, bring your right hip to right wrist, left hip to left wrist, back and left through back and right, and continue to move bigger circumduction, forward and right through back and left, coming through upward facing dog, through child's pose. Next time you come through child's pose, come back up to a normal hands and knees position. We'll rotate the opposite direction. Up and left, inhale, down and right, exhale. Continue to move opposite of last. Small movements here with the spine. Now we'll create space between our hands and knees, moving our hips forward and left, back and right. Left hip to left wrist, right hip to right heel, forward and left, back and right. Upward facing dog through child's pose, moving with the breath. Coming back to hands and knees, and we'll do some twists. Lying down on the stomach, bringing the left leg out to a half frog, pushing the hands up, threading the right arm under the left, coming onto the right shoulder. Left shoulder comes all the way back down to the mat. You can place a block under the left knee. It's okay if the knee floats. You're twisting from the cervical spine to the lumbar spine. So gaze to the left. Coming out of it, bringing the block out from under the knee, and then bringing the left shoulder back down onto the mat, coming down onto your stomach, and then the right knee comes up into a half frogger, left shoulder under, bringing the right shoulder back and behind. You can bring a block under the right knee, gazing to the right, twist. If you have a block under the right knee, removing the block, bringing your right shoulder back down, hands coming up and coming onto your hands and knees. Right arm lifts up to the sky, and then thread it underneath or behind your left arm, resting on your right shoulder. Your left arm can come up behind or maybe wrap around your back. If you want, you can lift your left leg up to the sky, but not required here. If your leg is lifted, bringing it back down, bringing your left arm back down to the mat, pushing yourself up, bringing your right arm up to the sky. Right hand comes back down. Left arm comes up to the sky, threads underneath or behind the left arm, resting down on the left shoulder. Right arm can come in front of you or wrap around your back. You can lift your right leg if you want. A nice shoulder stretch and twist. Leg comes down, right hand comes back to the mat, pressing yourself up, lifting your left arm up and overhead, placing it back down onto the mat. Tuck your toes, press back, push back into downward facing dog, and slowly step up to the top of your mat, forward fold, strong in the legs, lift, rise up, hands come down to your hips. Now I'm going to turn to the side and show you extension and flexion. So rotating, using a lot of your shoulders and hips now. You can move your gaze, inhale, exhale, flexion and extension, standing cat-cow. Now we'll move on to lateral flexion. Bring your right arm up and overhead, almost like your elbow is tracking behind your head. I'll show you that now. And start to reach to the left, keeping that right hip down. You can step your right foot behind or even further behind for a really deep lateral flexion stretch. Coming back out of it, bringing your feet back to hip width apart, raising your left arm up overhead, again almost behind your head, reaching to the right as you get a nice side body stretch. And again, you can press that left foot behind or deep behind, rooted into that left hip. Bringing your arm back down, stepping your feet back hip width apart. We'll do some gliding. Now you can incorporate your hips. Bring your arms out long and really gliding from one side to the other. And your hips are able to help move your spine a little bit more, gliding. A little bit of flexion here, but mostly just trying to glide about the spine. Moving on to circumduction, placing your hands on your hips and start to rotate. I'm keeping the base of my spine and the top of my head relatively in the same position as I rotate forward and right, back and left. Forward and right, exhale, back and left. Now I'm moving my hips and keeping my head mostly in the same position. Again, moving my hips forward and right, back and left. Big circumduction while standing. A nice bend in the knees will make it a little bit easier to not lose the balance. Now coming back into a relatively stable position, we'll go the opposite direction. Again, keeping the hips and head relatively in the same position. Forward and right, back and left. Small movements here, circumduction around the spine, and then big movements with the hips, forward and right, back and left, or opposite what you did on the other side. Moving the hips, but also moving the spine. We'll do some standing twists. I recommend finding a wall on the right side of you, bringing your right hand to the wall. Weight goes into the left foot. As the right knee comes into the chest, left hand grabs onto the right knee and you twist to the left, gaze to the right. Options are you can grab a hold of the foot, but sometimes this compromises the twist in the spine. Coming out of it, we'll go to the other side, placing your left hand on the wall. Rooted in the right foot, left knee to the chest, twisting your knee to the right, gaze to the left. Again, options are to hold on to that foot and twist. Coming back to the mat, maybe you want to do a sun salutation now. Thank you so much for watching. At the end of this video, I added a little bit of stuff that was edited out, and you'll also see my cat being super cute. So, enjoy!